If I had to sum up what I felt watching these first 5 episodes in just a few words, it would be
wanna know what
this:
it was like for
a
me,
constant knot in my
growing up in
stomach,
Gilead.
a deep sense of discomfort, and moments that were
I'm ashamed
honestly
to say
hard to
that I
sit through.
believed in Gilead once.
This isn't just a series you
I guess
watch.
it's easier to
It's
accept
one you
the
feel,
story,
sometimes
even a
in the most
childish one,
unsettling ways.
rather than
In this
believe that
video,
the
I'm
people
breaking
around
down
you
each
are
episode one
monsters.
by one, moving forward every couple of minutes so you can follow the journey with me. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the end, because
In this
episode
story
5 is on
I'm not
another
really
level.
sure what year it
It's the
was.
most cringeworthy, the most uncomfortable,
It's hard
and
to
the one
remember
that
actual
really
dates
shows
because
just how
girls were
far women
forbidden to
have been
have
reduced in
calendars.
this world. This video contains spoilers for the first 5 episodes of the Testaments, so if you haven't watched them yet, now is your moment to pause, go watch, and come back. Because what we're about to talk about stays with you. What if I told you that even in a world built on silence, control, and fear, the most dangerous thing is not rebellion, but awareness? That's exactly what hit me while watching the first 5 episodes of the Testaments. And honestly, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. Now, I have to say this up front. I'm a huge fan of Margaret Atwood's work, and The Handmaid's Tale changed the way I look at dystopian storytelling. But the Testaments, this feels different. It's sharper, more unsettling in some ways, because we're no longer just witnessing oppression, we're seeing how it is taught, normalized, and even accepted. The series opens with a powerful context. Gilead, a totalitarian regime that rose from panic, from collapsing birth rates, from fear turned into control. And immediately we are reminded that even the most privileged young women, the daughters of commanders, are not safe. That line alone sets the tone. Power does not protect you in Gilead. It only defines how you are controlled. And then we meet Agnes,
Just reading one
or should I
across your
say,
finger.
Hannah. Because yes, this is June's stolen daughter. And hearing her voice at the beginning of episode 1 is something that instantly connects the Testaments to everything we've already lived
learn to
through
mark time
in The
in other
Handmaid's
ways.
Tale. There's something almost
I know I still have
disturbing
my
about how
dollhouse.
she describes her life.
It looked
Like a
just like our
perfect
real house.
dollhouse. Everything is structured,
It
clean,
had my bedroom
controlled,
and the dining
beautiful
room,
on the surface,
a wife's parlor,
but
even
empty
an attic
underneath.
where the Martha
It's
slept.
that illusion of perfection that really stands out. The absence of a handmaid in her home is not just a detail, it's a statement. If you're new here, I recently made a video breaking down hidden details and secrets you might have missed in the Testaments. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out after this video. But then, the illusion cracks. That scene, you know the one. The moment when the young guard has his hand cut off with a chainsaw. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this is one of the most shocking moments I've seen. Not just because of the violence itself, but because of everything surrounding it. The justification, the reaction, the silence. All it took was that the young guard was caught pleasuring himself with his hand. And what made this even more disturbing for me was the reaction of the girls.
Hey, are you okay?
The Purples, these young women being raised to become wives, they accept it. They stand there watching, almost as if it's normal, shouting at the guard as if this is justice, except for one person, Daisy. She reacts, she feels, she vomits. And that reaction is everything. Because Daisy is not from Gilead. She's a Pearl girl from Canada, and that difference is crucial.
Daisy? Daisy?
She hasn't been conditioned the same way. She hasn't been shaped by years of indoctrination.
What the
So
fuck
when
was
she
that?
sees something brutal, she recognizes it as brutality. And that contrast is one of the most powerful elements in these first episodes. It makes you question, how much of what we accept is simply what we've been taught to accept? Now, there's also something very interesting happening with Daisy's identity. We actually talked about this in a previous video. Daisy, is she baby Nicole? In the original book, we know that she is actually Nicole, June's other daughter. But the series takes a different direction because the timeline has been compressed from about 15 years to roughly 4 years after the events of The Handmaid's Tale. Daisy is no longer Nicole, which means that Agnes and Daisy are not sisters in this version. And honestly, I have mixed feelings about this change. On one hand, it removes that powerful emotional connection. On the other hand, it allows the story to explore different dynamics, different relationships, and maybe even new tensions. At the end of episode 1, we realize that Daisy belongs to Mayday, when during the night she listens to a small radio she had hidden, tuned to frequency 99.2. And then, at the end of episode 1, we get something fans have been waiting for. The unexpected meeting between June and young Daisy in Canada, a powerful moment, especially considering that in the book, June only makes a very subtle appearance at the very end. Moving into episode 2, Perfect Teeth, the discomfort doesn't fade. It deepens. It lingers. It gets under your skin. And there are 2 scenes that, for me, cross a line you can't unsee. The first is Agnes's so-called coming-of-age moment. Something that, in any normal world, would be intimate, private, even confusing, is turned into a celebration, a spectacle. Because in Gilead, her first period isn't about her, it's a signal, a milestone that says she can now bear children. And what follows is even more disturbing. The way her stepmother presents her, almost like an offering, in a room full of commanders, including her own father. The way they look at her, with that quiet, unsettling hunger, it's
Father,
degrading. In that moment,
as he
Agnes
blessed
stops
Rich
being a
and Leah, he
girl.
has blessed me this
She
day.
stops being a person.
As he answered the
She
prayers
becomes
of Sarah,
something else
Rachel, and
entirely.
Rebecca,
A
his
vessel,
hand he will
a
make me
function,
fruitful.
a commodity. And then comes the dentist scene. Becca's father.
Lovely.
The way he speaks, the way he
You really
touches
are
her in that office,
getting to be a
under
big
the
girl,
guise of
Agnes.
something routine, something normal. While Agnes is there for what should be an innocent appointment, preparing for her future as a wife. It's subtle, but it's
And that's
wrong in a
that.
way that makes your stomach turn.
Let's take some pictures.
It's the kind of scene that doesn't need to be explicit
Excellent.
to be deeply
Thank you.
disturbing. In episode 3, Daisy, everything shifts. What starts as a seemingly ordinary school trip turns into a trigger, a moment that cracks something open inside her. An incident awakened fragments of memory, pulling Daisy back to a past she didn't even know she had. And for the first time, we see glimpses of her life in Toronto, her parents, her boyfriend, her world. A normal teenage life, safe, familiar, real, until it all collapses with the sudden death of the people she believed were her family. And then June returns, and with her, the truth. In a single conversation, everything Daisy thought she knew was torn apart. Her parents weren't her biological parents. They were part of Mayday. They were protecting her. And now, she's in danger, real danger. June reveals that Daisy was born in Gilead and smuggled into Canada as a baby. And just like that, her identity, her past, her sense of self, gone, rewritten. Her world doesn't just shake, it shatters. Moving now into episode 4, Green Tea, this is where things become painfully clear for Agnes. She begins to understand what it truly means to be a woman in Gilead, not in theory, not in lessons, but in lived reality. At the same time, on the other side of the story, we
Tell
start to
Carter
feel that
he's got
Daisy
to
has been
move
pulled into something
out.
far bigger than she can handle.
Closing in.
She's recruited by Mayday, sent in as a Pearl Girl, but there's this constant sense that she's not ready, not for the danger, not for the psychological weight, not for what Gilead really is. And then comes the green tea, a ceremony disguised as a celebration, a room filled with greens, girls like Agnes who have transitioned from purple, now officially eligible for marriage. But this is not a party, it's an evaluation. Every gesture, every word, every movement is observed by the ants, judged, measured. Their entire future in Gilead, who they will marry, the life they will live, hangs on how they perform in that moment. And then something
Agnes
almost
found the
symbolic
bride!
happens. Agnes bites into the cake and breaks a
Is it
tooth on a
bad?
small porcelain doll hidden inside. A twisted version of a bridal tradition. Whoever finds the doll is the next to marry. Even that moment, something that could be playful, is loaded with pressure, expectation, inevitability, which leads us back to the dentist.
Curfew.
And this time,
Promise.
the
This is just a
discomfort is on
mild
another level.
sedative.
Agnes
Before you
is
know it,
anesthetized,
you'll wake up with a perfect
vulnerable,
smile.
completely unable to protect herself. And what the show does here is deeply unsettling. It doesn't show, it suggests. It leaves space for the possibility that something happened to her while she was unconscious. And that ambiguity, that silence, is what makes it so disturbing. Because in Gilead, even when you don't see it, you know it's possible.
We finally arrive at episode 5, The Ball, and this is where the illusion completely begins to fall apart. What looks
And we were
at
told
first
we would
glance
love our
like
husbands because they were
elegance,
our
like
husbands.
tradition, like refinement,
Not for any other
slowly
reason.
starts to crack. This is Gilead's version of a debutante ball, where the green girls are paraded in front of commanders, presented, observed, evaluated. And Agnes is right there in the middle of it. At the same time, she learns that Garth, the young guardian she secretly has feelings for, is about to have his status changed. And just like that, even the smallest hope she might have held onto begins to slip away. But what truly defines this episode is the feeling, that growing knot in your stomach. Because the more the scene unfolds, the clearer it becomes. This isn't about celebration. It's about selection. These girls, so young, so carefully prepared, are placed in front of older, more powerful men, not as individuals, not as daughters, not as human beings, but as something to be chosen, something to be owned. And by the end of it, one thing is undeniable. This isn't elegance. It's control, dressed up as beauty. And that is where the story leaves us for now.
Subscribe to the Timeless Tales podcast. Your stories, your time.